Hey, they actually switched the settings on this. This is the first time I've done this, but I think we're live. Is it coming up in everybody's feed? If not, what?
Yeah.
Is it? Yes, no?
I don't.
I have a feed.
Let's see.
It says
Ryan
live.
will-
I don't feed.
I
That's
don't
why.
feed. Oh yeah. All
Come
right,
on,
you guys
AB. Can you act like you've
you
done
guys
this
gotta
47
share it.
times?
I have, and this is the first time it's actually like giving me all these options. But this is a jam session. These are raw. So let's kick it off. Cool.
Do it.
Let's do it. Let's
All
kick
right.
it.
All right, you guys are gonna have to share it because it didn't give me the option to tag anybody. So I got to go back and edit it.
Well, what do you
edit it
have in
later.
your budget? Because Laricy Social doesn't just share stuff for free.
I mean, that's
At least
fine.
it was like $1,000 a share.
Yeah,
Gee.
no, 10,000 a share.
Okay.
10,000 a share,
Damn.
or we can redo the fee. But no, this is I'll edit it as we go. We're live, so I'm gonna get this kicked off, and once we start jamming, then I'll do all the fun social Facebook tags.
Is it
and all
live
that
under
stuff. So-
your page or Real Producers page?
No, it's on mine because when you do it on a business, then it's like it's hard to like funnel it. So we're gonna do this. We're just gonna roll with the punches. So good morning, everybody. This is the 47th jam session. I cannot believe, I mean, this is obviously something that's extremely positive that's come out of the pandemic. There's a lot of just I love connecting with these people because these are the boots on the ground. These are the people who are real time working with clients, working with buyers, working with sellers, essentially putting a bunch of deals across the finish line. And so I just appreciate everybody's hustle on this, and just to get these faces to carve out an hour of their time, especially on somebody's birthday. It's just a testament to the platform and just them wanting to give back to the community, just to put accurate information out there. So I'm going to allow very briefly the realtors to introduce themselves, and or I think they're going to introduce one another. I don't even remember the order. And then I'll allow the partners to introduce themselves, and we're gonna start jamming. Most people on here don't really need an introduction, but just in case you don't know who they are, in my best Ron Burgundy voice, they're kind of a big deal. So that being said,
I'll kick it off.
why don't you go ahead and take it
I'll kick it
away,
off.
man.
Well, AB, on behalf of the 8 of us, the 8 other rectangles on your screen, we're grateful for what you do for the real estate community here in Chicago, and for setting these virtual things up. I tend to log in every time I can, and I learn a lot from it. So we're grateful for you. All right. I get to introduce one of my favorite people in the world, Lauren Mitrick Wood. I've known her we've known each other, I don't know, maybe like 14 years or so. She's been licensed like since she was 18. So she's been doing this a while. Second generation realtor. She's one of my favorite people because she's got one of the greatest laughs. She's very knowledgeable and good at what she does. And when it comes to branding, she's someone who I get inspired from, to the point where she has her own champagne, olive well champagne that she makes. This is how she gets me to go to her broker open houses, and she hides them from me. So it's a scavenger hunt or an Easter egg hunt. So I'm grateful for her, and she's just a really great realtor and has a great team.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I echo your sentiments about Andy. Thank you so much. It's fun to be here. I get the pleasure of introducing Matt Laricy. Matt Laricy is a stud, top producer. I think he's number 2, hankering for number 1. Are we there yet, Matt Laricy?
Not even close.
Oh, God.
You're really feeding his ego right now.
Matt runs the Laricy Group at Maricorp Ltd. with 2, is it 1 dog or 2 dogs? One huge dog.
Yeah, she's big enough to be 2.
He's got 2 kids, 1 amazing wife, Nicole. She's gorgeous. And let's not forget his love for a good red wine.
That's
Okay.
solid, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, he also runs a podcast, and he wears a suit every day of his life. He even wears it to bed.
I have done that after some long nights. But yes, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for that warming, wonderful welcome. I have the honor of introducing, they call him a TikTok legend. And you can't go to bed at night without checking on his page for a good story, because he does like to read children books like nobody else I've ever seen read a
What are you
children's
talking
book in my
about?
life. It is the man, the myth, the legend, the smile and dial king, Mr. Leigh Marcus.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Okay.
TikTok
Well, thank you.
legend. Right underneath what, Charlie D'Amelio?
Actually, yeah, we're talking. I'm number 2 right now, and not even close to number 1. So we'll see with my TikTok status. But thank you, Matt.
Great.
Lee,
Yeah.
You got to
Who am I
introduce
doing?
somebody, Lee.
Who am I doing? Everyone's already been introduced, right?
No, Elena.
Oh,
You're-
Elena, that's right.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
goodness. Thank you, guys.
I mean, this is starting off.
Remedial, this is our Real Producers 101 remedial class. So thank you, Elena. So yes, so talk one of the best energies in the business, right? Just sweet as can be. Always a pleasure to do a deal with. Everybody knows, like, when somebody like Elena is on the other side of a deal, you're like, this is going to be great. Somebody who gets it, and it's just a pleasure to deal with, to work with. So awesome.
Thanks, Lee.
Yes.
I am,
Okay.
and thank you again for having me as well. This is awesome. Really stand-up crew here. I don't even feel worthy. But I am introducing next the birthday boy, Mr. Tommy Choi. I can't even believe I'm on the same session with him. He is
Oh,
the
please.
ultimate legend. He always touts everybody else for being the GOAT, but he is the true GOAT. There is no doubt. Tommy and his whole team, they are just second to none. To know him is to love him. There is no doubt. And yeah, he doesn't even really need an intro. It's just like a mic drop every time you've got Tommy Choi around. So,
Man, you got me almost like ugly face crying here. Catching feelings.
You are one of the best. And there is no doubt you are an inspiration to many. So, Tommy Choi.
You are the best.
I will second that, Elena. I have a phrase. I might put it on a bumper sticker. And it's going to say, if you don't like Tommy Choi, and then in like small print, it'll say, then there's something wrong with you. But I think we can all agree to that. So no, I want to dive into the meat and potatoes before I do that. I will do one plug, and this plug is actually brought to you by Ross Neag, Alberto Marchan, and Ryan Cotter with Movement Mortgage. So people ask me all the time, hey, do you guys have a digital version? It's the platform. It's funny too, people ask me what I do. They're like, so you make the magazine, do you like go out and sell subscriptions? It's like hilarious, like the perception out there. So I'm like, no, it is supported. This is designed to be a community connector. It goes to just the top 500 agents in Chicago proper based on closed production in 606 zip code. So it's very targeted, it's hyper local. And I cannot do what I do without Ross, Alberto, and Ryan. I cannot. My kids do not eat. And so I am just grateful. And it's Lee, it's funny that you had mentioned that, because Ross was actually one of our very first supporters before we even launched. I don't know what you were thinking, Ross, but like, hey, it's a print magazine. It's 2017. This sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. But I mean, literally, Ross, I'll tell you, like, it's been a ride, and we would not have got to the start that we did without your support. And then because we launched and created what we have created, everything, all the dominoes just sort of fell into place. So where I was going with that is we have an app, which apparently people don't know about, because people are like, hey, can I find it online? It is a private publication. And so if you download the app's called Digipub, Digapub. They'll probably start charging for it eventually as it gains traction, but currently it is free. So I'm encouraging people to download it. The nice thing is you can have access to all the past issues, all the past event videos, and that. So with that, I'm gonna allow the partners to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of this. And so Alberto, I believe you were on first. Why don't you kick us off, and just a little bit about 10, 15 seconds, obviously name, company, how long you've been doing what you've been doing. And then we'll pass the buck to Ross and then Ryan, and then we'll start rocking out.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. My name is Albert with Blu Commercial Cleaning. We are a small family-owned janitorial company in the Mayfair area of Chicago. We do everything from day-to-day janitorial to now COVID disinfection services, trauma scene cleaning, odor remediation, and mold stuff as well. Been with the company now for 7 years, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since, adapting and overcoming to the changing times. So I think that's it for me.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ross.
Hey, Ross, Neag, Chicago Building Inspections. I've been in the industry for 13 years. CBI is 5.5 years old. 9 full-time inspectors. We are part of the real estate transaction, hopefully. So predominantly single-family condo, townhome. We do a lot of HOA work, property condition assessments, moisture intrusion, anything that's a little more on the sophisticated building side. We're a great fit to help find solutions. And Ryan?
Yeah, my name's Ryan Cotter. I'm with Movement Mortgage. I've been doing this for, looks like 26 years now in the lending business. I tell people I try to specialize in the complex and the construction. So if you have a challenging, complex deal, give me a shout. I'll get it solved for you.
Awesome.
That's it. Let's start rocking out. I mean, I'm literally gonna shut up probably for the next 45 minutes because let's face it, you're not here to hear me talk and make witty comments. Although I can do that throughout this, but I'm gonna try to hold my tongue. So Matt, when we were pre-gaming, I'm gonna give you the floor. I've heard that you know what you're doing. So seriously, man, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and we'll ebb and flow from there, my friend.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we have some of the biggest hitters in the business on this, and it's been an interesting, wild first quarter. And I think it's kind of important to see what's actually happening because you get a lot of these papers out there that talk about how the market's the greatest market in history. And it's like, well, is it really the greatest market in history? And where's that happening? Because we're living in 2 different cities right now. There's 2 entirely different markets going on. It's like night and day. You got the small buildings, in my opinion, are overperforming, and you have your high rises that are performing at worse levels than the Great Recession. And it's a little crazy to think that you're hovering around a 1 to 3 month inventory levels in the outskirts, which I call anything outside of like the high rise markets outskirts. Not that it's like crazy out there. Mm-hmm. And the high rise markets have 12.4 months of inventory, which is like insane. Like recession levels were around 12 months. And people are scared, not only for safety reasons to live in high rises, but also just don't think they're going back to work. So they're performing at rates where people say that they will never come back again. And I just am curious to see if you guys agree with that high rises crumble and never exist again, and that people will never, ever go back to work, as they say. And if you think the small buildings with big outdoor spaces are going to continue to overperform at pretty much record high pricing. I'm just curious to see what you guys are seeing.
So, one thing I agree with you right now, the highly densely populated markets, the high rise markets near North, South Loop, West Loop are the ones lagging. Specifically near North, the 12-month inventory, the months of supply we have, it has gone better though, at least, because it was like 17, 18 months, maybe towards the end of the summer. But my thing is this, I don't like when the pendulum swings extremely, and that's the challenging part when other people are high-fiving each other for having like awesome months and stuff like that, which you should celebrate. A lot of this time, it's, market conditions being favorable, right? Like June, I think everyone last June on this screen had a ridiculous month, correct? Right. And so that was 3 months of pent-up demand that just popped open in that month of June, right? From March, April, and May. And so I think what we're seeing right now, especially on the north side, the Lakeview, Lincoln Park neighborhood, especially, anything that's a 3-bedroom right now, I agree with you. I tend to agree with you, Matt, that it is over performing because the demand is outpacing what that supply is. And part of it is there's a lot of shadow inventory, right? A lot of people are afraid to list because they don't, especially ones that are going to the burbs, because it's complete just shit show out there, where we had clients that are under contract in like East Wilmette that had to go 6 figures over ask price, and they just barely edged it out, right? So I think that inventory, if it was on the market, that would actually help, right? Because that's the same thing, because it provides more comparable properties for the consumer to be able to decide what value is. And so now we're not having to have every property be 20, 30,000 over ask and, an hour-long line just to get in to see it over the weekend, right? So I think that's the challenging part. And for us, all the conversations I have on the listing side, where it's, I'm getting a lot of, hey, I want to just understand, but I don't want to list until, we find a place because I want to be homeless. I'm bringing solutions to that because I know we need to have more inventory coming to the market to help level set and make things a little bit healthy and not make this pendulum swing so extremely. So we're not, caught 2-3 years from now when these people sell, being underwater on values. But I'm curious to hear what everyone else, how are they handling that objection? When sellers are coming and saying like, hey, I definitely want to sell this year, but not until I'm not ready yet because, X, Y, and Z, because I want to find out where I'm going to be living first. What are some of the solutions you're presenting to those sellers?
At least right now, I think it's an easy conversation point to talk about the spring market and like, hey, if you absolutely need to sell to do some kind of purchase, figure out your plan B because you should be listing your place right now. That conversation changes obviously once you get into July, maybe even June, depending on how this year goes. But I think that conversation, again, it's just an easy one at the moment if they can figure out how to make that transition place work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've done more rent backs this year than I've done my whole career. I think that's a nice transition for sellers, is to do a quick close and then they have their cash and they don't need to do a home sale contingency. And I think the banks allow up to 60 days for post-possession closing or post-possession. So that just gives people some time. And I've had a lot of people just want to rent. The rental market seems to be very strong because not everyone can find a place to buy. And then some of my clients have even moved into their parents' homes. I'm currently coming at you from my father-in-law's house. Thanks, Tom Wood, for letting us crash here. But people are just getting creative. They're getting Airbnbs for long months. They're staying in hotels. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that we've never seen before happen. And people are just being more willing to do kind of whatever they can to get their place ready and sold and be in a great position to buy something.
We're finally getting to feel what it's like, and a lot of our realtor friends in Nashville, Austin, Texas, all the rest of the country that have been saying like multiple offers, San Francisco, and now like we're just getting a taste of it this year finally. So the sellers have just been beat up for so long here that it finally tipped in their favor a little bit, which has been nice. Basically, if you can't enjoy this market right now, you're never going to enjoy a market. Right. This is like, even as a buyer's agent, obviously, it's still like, we don't, how often do we get this? When have we had this, right? 2007. So
I'm curious if it will slow down this summer. I know typically that I call it the summer slowdown, and we've seen some markets where it doesn't rebound until the next January. So I'm curious if the market will slow down. And
let's ask the Oracle of River North.
I was just going to say, let's see what it has to say.
So, I mean, the biggest thing, I'm a weirdo and I study like a lot of other stuff that I think will have an effect on the market itself. And one big thing that the trend that I've been watching is that I know that for me personally, August is my worst contract month every single year. Like I put the least amount of places in our contract because it's a busy travel season. It's really only 3 weeks because everybody travels for Labor Day and stuff like that. What a big thing that I've been reading about is the travel. And Leigh mentioned this earlier about how it's going to be a busy travel season. Everything is indicating that this could be one of the busiest travel summers of all time. The fact that United hired 300 pilots, the fact that every single airline and travel industry and hotel industry is trying to hire outside help. is showing that people are going to be going. And we're a big city, which means that a lot of people are younger, or you have young families and stuff like that. Think about how many people who kick the can down the curb about getting married and all this other stuff. So I think that July is going to mimic a normal August. And I think July is going to be a very bad contract month. And I think we're going to have a noticeable slowdown, because I think the reason people are so busy right now is people are rushing because we're on these rent cycles, right? And by mid-June, we're going to see a noticeable difference. And I think people who are overbidding and overpaying on stuff today, come July 15th, that same exact unit's gonna be sitting on the market and there's gonna be no demand. And we're all gonna have to have these real conversations with sellers who are like, hey, my neighbor listed in March and had a line of people down the door and 8 offers. How come I don't have a showing? And we're gonna have to explain to them the fact that, like, there was a different market. I mean, there was pent up demand from people who wanted to buy last year, who got locked down because we thought we were gonna be eating each other in the streets, and they, you know, said they're gonna buy next year. And I think people are gonna be in for an eye-opening come July. On the flip side of that, though, the upside is that I'm hoping that we're going to see the in-town market come back in July, which has been a market that hasn't existed this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but
so
in for a little bit of a difference.
To that point, the other thing that I'm looking at is that'll add to that is buyer fatigue, right? We've had, you know, seller markets in the past 10 years, at least since, let's say, 2012, and where we've had things moving quickly, competition on the buy side and buyer fatigue kick in. But we've never seen it, I think, in the last 10 years where it could compound into that slowdown in the summer, because we've never had as many people, I think, migrating to the suburbs. And a big catalyst to that, and I know Leigh is in tune with this as I am, is, you know, I know a lot of families who before, right, school districts, CPS, you know, neighborhoods that, you know, people wanted to be in, right, the ABCs on the north side, people, it's like short-term memory. People don't care about that anymore. And some people are already saying, hey, I want to hedge my bets. I don't know what the CTU and CPS is going to figure out in the fall, but I'm going to accelerate my plans and go to the burbs now. And so I'm a little bit worried about that buyer fatigue, because what's happening in this market too, that I don't think we really have seen in the last 10 years, at least, is that with that, especially in the north side of the city, we're starting, and I'd love to see if you guys agree with me, we're starting to see price brackets disappear, right? Some 3-bedroom, $600,000 duplex on some parts in the north side now are costing $650,000, right? So that affordability starts to change. And so when you start to see those price brackets dissipate a little bit, that buyer fatigue is going to compound even more. And to Laricy's point is that it might not comp out at what's closed in March, April, right, and May, in June, July, and August. And so we're going to have these difficult conversations, or at least real conversations with our sellers, to let them know, yeah, hey, you might have missed that window. So we have to price ahead, because, you know, inventory could bottleneck again.
Which is great news for buyers. Yeah.
Yeah. And rates are still low. I mean, it's this like really lightning in a bottle moment right now where, you know, typically, right, when people ask me how's the market, it's one of two answers: buyer's market or seller's market. And right now it's like, depending on what neighborhood, right, that can change. And also there's a little bit of an equalizer with how cheap money is right now.
Yeah. And then we got a question from Annie Loncard. Andy, you want to ask that?
Go ahead.
What advice would you give to a seller who's delaying listing their property until they update their master bathroom? It needs,
right now.
needs to be updated. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing right now. We're seeing, at least, buyers would rather finance that, pay up and finance that $50,000 they would have spent redoing a kitchen or a bathroom, than paying less and paying that out of their pocket right now. So, you know, it's everyone always blames HGTV, but I think Pinterest is the worst thing for buyers' expectations, because everyone has their Pinterest boards, but their budget doesn't, you know, match that sometimes.
yeah. So, but if somebody, I mean, it's a trade-off, right? Because the chance of not if it really needs to be updated, the chance of the market slowing down, even if it slows down, they would do better by having it updated than by waiting, than by the chance of missing the market. So unless anybody else is.
I mean, I think it depends on what it is, right? Is it a single family home? Then yes.
Yeah,
Wait
where
till it's done. Are you in a high, a 3-unit building? It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and it's 450,000. Like, put it on the market.
Yeah.
It's all relative to what type of
Right.
product it is. It's too general a question, but I mean, if you're in that sweet spot, 750 and under, 2-3 bedroom, who gives a shit? Put it on the market. Like, it'll sell. But like come July and you have an updated bath, I'm telling you, I really think demand's going to get cut in half. I think everybody should screenshot how many showings they're getting a week right now and compare it to what they're going to see in July.
But I think that's good for buyers. That's what I'm encouraging my buyers to do. A lot of them are getting fatigue and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go rent a place. But I'm like, if you rent a place and your lease ends now, at this time next year, you're going to be in the same boat. Why don't you just wait a few months until the summer slows down, and then you'll have a better chance of buying something without all this crazy demand.
I'm curious on that because, like, for instance, a 2-bed, 2-bath, like you, right? I just had 8 offers. Story that we're all seeing.
But that's only because they had a great realtor, though.
Well, sure. The 7 people that didn't get that property, there isn't still inventory for all of them to buy. So what's happening with them? That's kind of a question, I guess, a conversation of, are they just going, the buyer fatigue they're talking about, are they renewing their lease? Or are they, to what Lauren just said, are they doing a 3-month extension? Are they figuring it out? I've had a few conversations with people. That's where I agree with Matt that should likely be the case with the market and what will happen. But to the point that I'm making is, will it actually happen, or will there be just a delayed demand that continues on?
A big thing that I'm talking about with that, because, we have a lot of clients getting outbid on stuff and we're winning bids and blah, 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 just like everybody else. But like, I keep bringing it back to is like, what's your why to buy where you're buying, right? Because there's so many of my clients that are in that under 750 range and like, I'm never going back to work ever again. So I'm going to work from home and I want that big outdoor space. And I'm like shaking these people, because these are the same people who in October told me that nobody would ever live in the city again and that this, Chicago was going to crumble. And I'm like, I will, and I'm dead serious when I say this, I'm on record. I'll put $1 million cash against anybody else that's willing to bet it. Dead serious. I have my attorneys draw it up, and I'll tell you that 95% of people will be back to work within 12 months. And it's willing to take me up on that. And let me tell you, a lot of companies are quietly.
I see a proof of funds, please.
Sure. They're right in your bank account. But like, people are quietly going back to work and they're not announcing it because we're very sensitive these days. And it's a true story. And I personally lost 4 deals this month alone, where clients were buying in West Town and far west Link Park. And they're like, you know what? We just got notice that we're going back to work and we're not going to change our search to go down to like more of the high rise stuff because I don't want to wake up that early. And I keep telling people this is like, listen, if your only reason is you're buying out here because you want that more outdoor space and you think you're never going back to work, there's not a better time in your lifetime, minus this fall, to buy in the near north side or the Loop, because there's scorching deals. We're talking about how there's 7 or 8 bids on little buildings. This is what's driving me crazy, is that like there's a line of people out the door for our stuff, just like Elena's and everybody else's. And you cannot get a showing for the life of you if you have a 2-bedroom condo in River North for $500,000, which normally flies off the market at this time of year. And I'm trying to educate my clients and saying that like, when you go back to work and you could walk there and the walkability score is 99 again and every restaurant's open again, because it's going to happen. It's 100% factual happening. Are you going to be depressed that you overpaid for that? You're paying $50,000 over market and you could pay $50,000 under market today.
Why do you think the in-town market's going to pick up again too, though?
Why do I think it's going to come? People are going to have confidence in the city again. Cities will come back. The back half, the biggest thing to watch out for, Q4, international market. That's going to come back raging. These guys have been raking in the money in the stock market. Most people from China, India, Middle East, they like to have assets, right? It's a great way to funnel money to America. Like, what are they going to do with all this cash? They're making billions of dollars on their stock market. They're going to start buying in high rises again too. That's a market that's untapped right now. I mean, I normally do 3 to 4 sales a week in international at this time of year. I haven't had a single sale all year in international. Like, what's that pent up demand going to be like at the back half of the year when they could travel here again?
Right.
These are things that I'm pointing out to my buyers in the sense that, like, think about that. Think about where pricing is going to go. That last year this place sold at 450 and today it's asking for, but you're willing to pay 500. And in the fall, that same place was on the market, for 425 and couldn't sell. Do you guys look at the cancels and expireds on these like 3 to 4 unit buildings? Like they were on in the fall for way less money. And now they're selling for over asking. Like it's insane.
Right.
I literally think it's insane. So I'm trying to educate my clients on like, what's your why for there? And if you just don't like assessments and stuff like that, I totally get it. Like, let's buy over there. But if you want a deal, this is the best deal in your lifetime to this day.
So you know what's nuts? Of the River North condos that we are selling, the majority of those buyers are in-town buyers, Leigh. And what I'm finding in conversation is because they're coming from the suburbs. Yeah. And they're selling their homes for more money than they could have, 15, 16 months ago. And so, and the difference is there's a lot of unknown prior to November in the state of Illinois, right? With this whole fair tax thing that JB Pritzker had on the board, right? And so on the ballot. And so I knew a lot of the secondary home market and also the high net worth luxury market people they were kind of on pins and needles, and I had more people calling me saying like, give me a Nashville realtor, if this thing passes, I'm out, and in my head, I'm like, you're not leaving in all reality, but sure, I'll definitely get you that name. But now that's gone, and that's part of the confidence I think that's being built up and to Laricy's point is that, the buying is good. The other half of sellers that we helped buy last year, sell in River North last year that weren't going to the burbs were millennial single professionals that just wanted out because they couldn't, I think, mentally handle being in a vibrant neighborhood that has typically very close access to all the amenities that anyone could want. Nightlife, shopping, dining, right? And they didn't know what to do. And so a lot of those sellers, we helped sell, and they went to the mountains or the beaches because everyone was working virtual. And those people are calling back now and saying like, hey, it looks like it's a good time to buy. And I want to be back in River North. And they understand everything is short term. So, there's a ton of opportunity there. It's just that people are too living in the present versus kind of looking at the future, knowing that, the loop is going to be open again, sooner than later.
Why don't we touch on, oh, go ahead. I was going to ask just Ryan, like in terms of rates, what has he seen in terms of like, because we just saw a half a point rate, rise recently. Like, what is he seeing? What are you seeing right now, Ryan, in terms of rates and the impact? Impetus for that.
Definitely. But to echo your guys' points, I'm seeing the shuffle up on a financing side, people from the suburbs coming back into the city, they hate their neighbors, they're like, this thing I learned, like, I don't like them, I'm going to go in a high rise, right? So we're seeing them come down and they're going into that. Then you see, the people that moving out to the suburbs, and then the suburbs are either going back into the city or they're going to a second tier suburb like Plainfield or moving out. So it's just a good old fashioned shuffle up. It's not, Chicago is going to be the premier Midwest city for hundreds of years to come. One of the things I try to do with my clients that are like, getting in that fatigue, as you guys were saying, is like, well, maybe I'll just wait till next year. And, if prices pull back 10%, then I'll buy. Like, well, if you just do the math of like, let's say interest rates raise 0.5%, and they do have a 10% pullback on price, your break-even point is 4 years, which means that the amount that you owe on your mortgage will be the exact same 4 years from now with those factors, right? So if you plan on living there longer than 4 years, which you should be 5 to 7 years, right? You're actually going to come out ahead, even though you're paying this high price with these low rates and this cheap money. So just do the long math, figure out how long you're going to be there. If you're planning on being there 3 years or something less, then yeah. But if you're a long-term plan, then the numbers actually make more sense to take advantage of the cheap money because it's not going to last forever. Legitimately, when you factor in inflation, if you just Google who are the winners of inflation, the first thing that pops up, people that have long-term fixed debt. So if they let me borrow $1 billion, I would right now. I get all mortgages. I buy everything in the city of Chicago. I put it on 30-year fixed money.
I'll piggyback on Tommy and Matt's comments about, Streeterville River North. Last year, without question, we saw it wiped out. I think we did less than a dozen inspections down there. And this year through Q1, we're 7 to 8-fold increase, high rise, low rise, townhomes, and it's mixed. There's international, there are people moving back into the city, and clearly first timers that are grabbing a few deals here and there. So I think just getting through that hump of the craziness of last summer and the election has kind of, I think it's re-energized people that the city's not going to fall and it will be safe again. And it's pushed a lot of people into those things. And we're seeing that in Q2 again, Ontario, Erie, Illinois, McClurg, all these things that pop up on our inspection calendar, it's coming back.
Ross, can I ask you a question? With how competitive, at least let's say the detached single family home market is, are you seeing different mindset with buyers going into inspection, knowing there's 20 other people behind me if I, ask for one little thing? Like, are
I've never seen it this tight roped before. And we went through, 08, 9, 10, 11. So we saw some good and bad. But this year, this Q1 alone, I've heard more as is comments, where we kind of just do our debriefing outside. Hey, what's on your mind? Where are you with this, et cetera, et cetera? And you bought places before. And they're like, we're over asked. This is as is. Anything major is all we need to know about. And it doesn't stop us from doing our work, but we have to take that into consideration. Like, hey, knock this out and then move on to the rest of the report. We don't want to see people lose places. That's not our job. But yeah, it's been contentious to say the least.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at absorption rates and numbers, and I think you can always tell and feel a market and illustrate a story, but the numbers really speak for themselves. And the high end market, over 1.5 million over the last 24 or like 12 months, I would say, the absorption rates have been consistently upwards of 50 months. And I just looked today and it was down to like 20. So that's a pretty big change over the last couple of months. And so I guess the question is, everyone's getting these deals in River North and downtown core market. And I wouldn't say like all those segments are completely, on sale, but the question is like, how long will that last? You can see it's already dipped by half with the inventory. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on how long this sale is going to happen.
Well, I mean, that's the tough part about the high-rise market, is because it's a lot of the times it's like herd mentality, right? Especially nowadays when you have, I have a listing at 512 McClurg, and I think there's like a total of 70 units on the market when you include the rental side of things. And it's, you're and it's like, okay, so 700 Larrabee, which we do a lot in, and Laricy knows, right? The 09 tier, which is the southeast corner, those are like rarely would trade. And now, like in the last like 13 months, there's like 4 or 5 of them, right? And so then what happens is one closes. I mean, we sold one, I think it was like 1809, when there was like 4 bottlenecks last summer. And the others were almost like 50K above us. And now everything's aligned to where our comp is and things are moving again, right? So I feel like that's the tricky part with those highly dense buildings, is that some people, they'll dig their heels because financially maybe they can't, or ego gets in the way and they think their place is better. But for the most part, people that are motivated, they have to just kind of follow suit.
I think the biggest way that you're going to see that market really start to move is it's mental, right? I always tell people real estate's a very big mental game, right? Why won't something sell at 500, but you discount it for 495? Next thing you'll get 3 offers, right? Everything's mental. I think the mentality is right now is that the heart of the city is dangerous and that people don't want to live there and they think they're not going back to work. That's all I ever hear. That's what I'm told. I know we can't comment on safety. I'm saying like what people tell me is why they don't want to live there. They think the closer they are to Michigan Avenue, the worse it can be. And I think the minute the vaccine becomes, we're 75% vaccinated in the city, people are going to be going back to work. The more people who are back to work, the more they're going to start understanding is like, hey, like, I don't want this long commute. And when everything's open, like, what was it, 2 Saturdays ago when all the restaurants were open, people were pouring out of these things. There was, my office is right by this bar called Clutch. And I walked past to grab a salad and there was like, I mean, you would never thought there was a pandemic going on. I mean, there was people on top of each other. you know, a lot of people who are moving the burbs are 24 to 30 years old that are single. You know, when they're driving in from
Wait till that
next
2-hour
to
commute hits
place,
them again.
yeah, to go out and have some fun with their friends. And then every single day they're sitting in traffic for 2 hours there and 2 hours back. Because let's remember, guys, traffic isn't back yet. Okay. I hear a lot of agents
So,
recently like, oh, I'm late because of traffic. When that happens and the vaccination happens, that's when the heart of the city explodes. But it's going to be a mental game. It's going to be I've had enough of the commute. I've had enough of seeing all my friends out. I've had enough of this. And then it'll catch on like wildfire. But how long that's going to take? I think we're really tied to the vaccine distribution. I think that's the biggest factor.
yeah.
Alberto, I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
In terms of just like keeping these buildings clean and safe, like have you just seen like an influx of business from these high rises, or like where's your business coming from these days, like your core?
So the core, so it's funny when the pandemic hit, we actually serviced a lot of bars and restaurants. And of course that unfortunately took a bit of a dive. So we had to pivot and kind of adjust accordingly. Luckily, we partnered with a certification firm by the name of IICRC, in which we actually got certified to do COVID disinfection services. And that it's funny how that pivoted in the sense that we lost this particular business, but that particular side of the business grew. So as far as buildings are concerned, we do currently have an influx of that. Disinfection services are all the rise right now. Obviously, COVID is still a very real thing. So we do see an influx of that. We also do see an influx of odor jobs too. We actually did an article for Chicago Real Producers for odor stuff. So I know it's 420. So if you guys have any need any of those odor services, please let us know. Feel free to reach out. But yeah, that's kind of how we.
So Alberto, you sell weed? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Okay.
Get rid of the smell if you guys need that.
I thought you were bringing the smell in. I'm just playing.
No.
We can cut the live feed for like 10 minutes and then interact and then go back to. I'm just kidding.
So okay.
Like,
oh, sorry. Go, Lauren.
I was just gonna say, like, just in terms of like helping people buy with confidence in these high rises downtown, like if there's any, I know I'm just like asking you off the cuff, but if you have any like stats or like if there's anything you can like say to give people some confidence in terms of like cleanliness in high rises and like how that impacts people's perception of like being safe in those buildings.
No, for sure. I think for the most part, I mean, for us at least, we've been following all CDC guidelines for COVID disinfection. I would say lean on that to kind of have that sense of protection. Of course, it's just the nitty gritty of it is that you want to make sure that all surfaces are clean on a daily basis, just to kind of reduce the viral load of it all. If you feel that you need professional help in these kind of situations, that's when you guys would lean into a company like us to kind of assist with that. But as far as stats, unfortunately, I don't have that off the top of my head.
All right, I have a selfish question that probably no one really even cares about, Alberto, but I don't understand how the science works. So we obviously spring break this year, we didn't leave state just because we want to, be respectful to all the other families before the kids go back into school. But we did a staycation at the Langham, and at the Langham, the elevator buttons say that they're self-cleaning UV something. I don't think the Langham's blowing smoke up, people's behinds, but like, how does that even work? Because is that going to be a thing in high rises then?
Yeah, so it's funny how disinfections have kind of evolved since the beginning of it all. Obviously, the science is always improving, and that is a very real thing, actually. We've seen that in a couple different areas. We'll actually utilize UV lights to actually reduce the viral load. The science behind it, of course, is that the UV light actually helps diminish some of the viral COVID antibodies to kind of reduce the viral load. So we have seen that in different various areas to kind of clean air. They instead of using like an electrostatic spraying system, they'll actually use UV lights to actually clean. So there is truth to it.
Awesome, thank you. I feel better now. So maybe we'll be expecting that in HOA budgets now, a higher line item of UV lights and cleaning. It's probably going to be a real thing moving forward.
I was just say, for those of you living in high rises, have you had any discussions with your HOAs about like an extra line item or increasing HOA fees just to help cleaning?
I don't know if ours has changed anything from a budget perspective. I admittedly haven't gone to any of those meetings recently, but I know that obviously they've implemented a lot of additional cleaning
Sure.
things on a day-to-day basis. But
And please make sure to tell them not to take them from the reserves. We need those reserves.
totally.
Ryan, what's a good
What
reserve?
reserves?
What's a good reserve from the budget? 10%.
10%.
But is it? I'm seeing people do like 20 and 30. Is that just excessive?
That's excessive. 10% is all you need. And you can use capital contributions. You're doing improvements, and I'd probably say, to kind of tag those two together. If you are doing something that has to do with like in implementing or installing something like that of cleaning, don't put it in like the cleaning budget. Put it in capital improvements, because then it'll get used towards the 10% reserve. So just lender talk.
Okay, along those lines, can I something that's, I don't know if it's just me, hopefully it's not, but it's been super annoying for these, as Laricy calls them, smaller buildings or whatever you were calling them, is that because we're seeing
midget buildings.
Okay, I'm not gonna acknowledge any of this just to stay PC. I don't want cancel culture to get back at me. But all right, what's annoying that we've been coming across like maybe 2 out of 10 deals on our listings in these smaller HOAs is when you have 2 or 3 units that are trading at the same time, HOAs all of a sudden think, hey, maybe we should redo our roof, or maybe we should do this, this, and this. And at the last minute, these things are coming up that, haven't even been like voted on, just discussed, and now buyers want to hold back and whatnot. Are you all seeing anything like that? It's almost like the HOA is looking at it as an opportunity. Okay,
Yeah.
before there's 2 new neighbors, we should probably start looking at this stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, kicking the can down the road, and then all of a sudden, nothing's getting done in the building, and then, 1 or 2 people are selling. Let's get this on the docket now to make sure this gets done.
I think HOAs are just in general like a whole other conversation, and I think that everyone has to say about it. Just downtown specifically, even like we're talking about how COVID and everything has impacted downtown, but I think the millennials are such a huge buyer pool that we experience downtown, even in the outskirts, as Matt would call it. They are not wanting to spend $1,000 a month extra on HOAs when they're really focused in on the good rates right now and how much money they can spend on a monthly basis, and then they factor that in. And I don't know, I'm very curious, like what everyone thinks about Near North, Gold Coast, and what the evolution of those neighborhoods are going to be with those buildings and how millennials come in and take over.
So it's real, because okay, a lot of I'm a data nerd. I'm trying to rethink here. Okay, 2020, right? That's what year last year was. Of all buyers that bought in the Chicagoland area, so all 77 neighborhoods, by obtaining a mortgage, so pulling out cash buyers, because you can't track that. We're tracking that in the back end through the mortgage info that's out there. 57% of all those buyers were under the age of 35. In 2019, 55% of all those buyers were under the age of 35. So as Elena's saying, that group is definitely growing. And that's what's so mind-boggling, this whole short-term memory thing, what Laricy was saying. So I geeked out last year, and I read 2 books on pandemics because I wanted to learn about the cycle, because obviously there's a history. There's one called The Ghost Map that was about cholera, and there's a smallpox book called Pox. And the thing is, history has shown that it takes typically 3 years to kind of fully kind of get out of it. And nothing just like one day you don't wake up because there's vaccines and it's like, hey, it's gone. It just fizzles. And so it's like waiting for that fizzle to happen. But part of it, I think, is, our job as realtors to help really reinforce the proper message. And it's not like, feeding BS. It's knowing that, hey, the loop is going to open up again. I know a lot of corporations that are looking at after July 4th to target soft opening. So that's going to start to happen. Also, I'm seeing a lot of corporate companies offering stipends like they once did for CTA. for parking in a garage. So I think that driving will be another big thing that starts to happen again for that. But it's putting out that message. I think, that bars, restaurants, nightlife is going to open up again. It's already starting to, right? And to Matt's point, right, that FOMO is going to kick in, and eventually we're going to see that migration hit back into that city. But I think it starts with us and feeding the right data, because there's so much clickbait that's out there. Like, what was it, a couple weeks ago, that one article in Cranes about just like the Gold Coast, like who's buying there, it was terrible. I had more in-town people looking at our listings in the Gold Coast River North area. 100 East Walton was one of them. And once again, there's like 40 units on the market, and they were going to write an offer. They pulled out because they didn't want to put money into Chicago, because literally the buyer's realtor said they just read this article and they don't need a secondary home. They don't need to buy it. They want to, and they were trying to take advantage of an opportunity being favorable for them. So, that's the stuff I think we need to combat with just boots on the ground knowledge to our clients.
That's the point though, is like the confidence. I one of the things I tell people all the time is that, like, since the dawn of time, humans have gotten together with other humans and created big cities. And there's been way worse plagues than this one. I'm not saying this isn't a bad virus, et cetera. I'm saying that, statistically speaking, there's been worse. And even after those, people have still created cities. So, the fact that most of the media has been talking that big cities won't exist and that people won't live in high rises. I told everybody I'm not going to buy that Kool-Aid. Like, I'm not going to get involved with it. And I think we are seeing that happen. I think firsthand, it's up to us to reinstall the confidence. And the thing that makes me the most mad, I get offers daily on my listings where the agents are telling me on these buildings, like, hey, I know we're offering in your streetable place, but you got to remember, like, nobody's ever going to buy here again because, offices are shut down and people won't go back to work. And I hear that every day of the week from other agents telling me that. So it puts me in such a bad mood, because I want to be like, you're the same agent that told me in, October that nobody would ever buy in Lincoln Park again. And now you're telling me how busy you are. And it drives me nuts in the fact that, like, agents are just as much the prisoners of the moments, because they're not as educated as the consumers are. And these are the people who are giving the consumers information. If you look at the rankings that Andy takes time out putting on the top 250, you take them out, there's still 16,000 other agents out there, Tommy, that are, not educated, that are putting out the wrong
16.5
information.
total in Chicago right now.
Yeah. And I think
growing.
Yeah. And it's, it's a growing industry, and you got people telling the people who are looking to buy that we're not going to be selling anything because these things won't exist. And I think I don't know, that's a different conversation on how I think education should change in real estate, Tommy, but
Why don't you tag those people in this post?
Facebook
Live.
I will. I have no
Just kidding. I know you don't. Don't do that.
Yeah.
He's messing. On that note,
Andy, can you tag Tommy on that for me, please? Because
totally. On that note, that's a good stopping point. I do need a screenshot with everybody smiling, Matt, you included, and also too, I just want to preface it with this: please do not be like my children and smile for 2 seconds and then stop. Otherwise, we're gonna have to just do it again. So when you see me stop smiling, then you stop smiling. Everybody clear? And you can make a funny face. That is totally 1,000% acceptable. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. I think we might have nailed that.
For you, Tommy.
Let me
Matt,
see.
I have a question. Are you wearing is Matt Laricy's tie virtual or real?
Really quick, to kind of piggyback on some of the HOA comments, the most deals we see die are from 6 units and under that have never had a plan. We've had buyers that have gone through, the 22.1s, and they look at the minutes, and even buildings that need work, but they have had let's say a PCA done within the last 24 months, and they've established budgets moving forward. A lot of those deals stay alive because the buyers coming in are like, okay, at least they're organized, and we know what's coming, we know what we're going to spend. It's the ones that have just been self-managed, that have 5K, and they're staring at $30,000 to $50,000 of roof and masonry work. Once they kind of dig in and find out that they're on the hook and nobody has taken the reins, it makes some of these buyers a little leery of moving forward. And you're going to spend that money one way, shape, or form. And we always tell people, $1 of capital improvement or $1 deferred maintenance is $4 in capital improvement down the road. It's a proven formula. You're going to spend it now and put it behind you.
So that's great. A dollar
Great advice.
$1 front will save $4 in deferred maintenance, right? That's a great rule of thumb. we've also been using that, 1% of purchase price per year is a good budget for what it should cost you to own a place in addition to everything else, right? Just maintenance and everything. And so if everyone just, moving the culture to like, when you own a home or a condo, like, yeah, you're probably going to be spending 1% a year of your purchase price in just maintenance and contributing to, that, what they say, what problems don't kill deals, surprises kill deals. Same thing with this, right? Like just everyone understanding that like, oh yeah, this is, there's a cost and investment to this. Hopefully that changed the consensus for people.
I mean, we'd love to see more aggressive ownership. Obviously, we love buildings. We love to see healthy buildings. I've called it the Peloton effect. Like there's a Peloton in the corner, but they don't notice the stain in the ceiling. And it's like the priorities shift a little bit.
Hey, Ross, that's a great point. Sorry, that like it's a few $100 per unit could go a long way, but you're right. Then there's a Peloton that they spend for $1,000 that they're like, no problem spending.
It's way more common than you think.
Yeah. Before you vote no on any condo thing, you have to certify you do not own a Peloton. Right.
Well, we're a couple minutes out, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time and not cut somebody off mid-sentence. So Elena, I think you are going to do the next jam session on HOAs. I think that's what I heard earlier. And Ross, I like it. I mean, that's my next bumper sticker idea, the Peloton effect. And but no, I mean, wrapping up here, final thoughts. I know you guys are busy, got money to make, people to see.
Yeah, Andy, can I say one thing that we can all get a vote on so that we can make sure that Tommy gets to working on for us?
You can say two things. It's you.
Can everybody agree that Tommy can spearhead talking to our tax assessor to get a fixed tax rate for the city? So I don't have to have, and everybody here doesn't have a conversation with their client every day of the week of like how taxes work.
Yeah.
Like, can you just get it a certain percent, Tommy? Like, these people, I think Leigh and everybody else here can agree that we just want it done. It'll save us we'll probably save 10 days of just time talking about taxes if we were to say it's 2% and then we hang up. So if you could get on top of that, Tommy, I personally would appreciate it. Would anybody else appreciate that?
The thing you don't know is it's already been in place. I just get the overage as an override as my commission. So
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Is that how you can afford this camera and these lights? Why are you so crystal clear over there?
Because Lauren, I mean, when am I not? I'm on brand right now, right? Come on.
Fresh.
If you would take the overflow that you make on the taxes and buy real estate with it, I mean, you'd easily be probably number one. So
yeah, but
Tommy, what is your favorite pair of Nike Air Jordans, please?
All time?
Yeah.
Jordan 6s, infrared whites. Greatest shoe ever created.
What about what's your favorite pair of Ewings then?
This guy, first of all, Laricy still to this day, his favorite NBA player is Patrick Ewing.
I'm gonna send you a picture of me when I'm 10 years old in a Patrick Ewing jersey.
What do you think of him as a coach?
I think he's unbelievable. He's the best basketball player of all time.
Perfect.
This could be go. We're gonna wrap up with this, okay? Because I mean, I have a 15-minute cushion, but I want to be respectful, and you guys know the drill. If you want to get on another one of these in a few months, it's funny. I was looking back. Matt, I think Leigh, and Tommy, I think your last one was October 20th. And it's just funny how today's 420. So maybe we should do another one for the fall, which the market will be way different. But we're going to wrap up with this. Leigh, I'm going to put you on the spot. Top 2-3 things shit realtors say. Go.
This is a great deal. You'd be losing money if you didn't buy this home right now.
All right.
Yeah, that's a
it.
combination there. Yes.
That was you weaved it on the one sentence. I like the got my workout in today. That was a good one. And then the open concept one was good. So hey everybody, I'm gonna cut the live right now. So 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Stop live stream. Now we're just normally recording. But hey, I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for showing up. These have been fun. If you want to get on another one of these, shuffle the deck, get different realtors partners on. That's how we roll. Have a blessed day.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Enjoy your
guys.
420.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.